So we'll wait for people
Go
to
this way.
join
And
us.
then adjust.
Did it show?
It is not yet on here. I could be live and just not know it.
Christine Sikora. I wanted to do that for a long time. Okay.
All right, I see us now.
We are live.
8:59, one more minute.
So if you are hopping on, we will be talking about some interesting things in a job seeker's world that involves social media. We just want to give folks a few moments before we officially start that conversation to give everyone an opportunity to jump on. And I'm going to mention here, ask us questions.
Yes, please.
Here in the comments. That way, if you have any questions, we can try and address them real time for you. So how's your morning going, Ricky? While we
Pretty
wait for
good.
people. I don't want to rush anybody.
Yeah, it's interesting. I stayed up late watching the CFP last night, but I woke up, I wasn't really tired. So I do feel bad for University of Florida fans this morning. They have just not had a good season. They lost to UCF in the Gasparilla Bowl, and now they're losing to, or now their rivals are winning college football playoffs. So rough morning for them, but hey, we still love you guys.
I have no idea what any of that means. Alright.
Mandy's a big fan of the sports ball, as you can see.
Big fan of all the sports balls. So,
Alright.
well, give another 60 seconds or so. If you want to tell any friends who might benefit from this, please have them jump on. We'd love to have them watch our first in a series of lives that we're intending on doing.
Yeah, we're going to do a whole series. One's going to kind of lead on to the other. We tried to plan it out so that if you stay with us, you'll hopefully learn a lot.
Oh, definitely stay with us. And if you're catching this after the live, hit us with that hashtag replay. Let us know you were here. We'd love to stay in contact with you and make sure that we keep you up to date about our next live, which will be next Tuesday.
All right, ready to start us off?
Yeah. So thank you for joining us today on our very first episode in a series of Facebook Lives that we will be doing here at Career Source Flagler Volusia. This will be a shortened down version and much more elevated than our workshops, which are found at workshops.careersourcefv.com. And if you do have personal questions and you want to know more about your specific account, you can reach us at 386-323-7001 for that one-on-one personalized service. So to start, my name is Mandy. I am the Assessment Lab Coordinator at the Orange City office of Career Source Flagler Volusia. I help people take assessments, workshops. I do case management and notate their accounts, and I'm kind of a general help out with anything you might need, and you're welcome to contact me about any questions you have. If I'm not the right Mandy for the job, I will find the person who is.
I like that. My name is Ricky Rademacher. I'm the Assessment Lab Coordinator in the Daytona Beach Career Center, and I guess if I'm not the right Ricky to help you out, I'll find the right one. What we like to do is, and what our job is help people who don't really know what direction they want to go. Especially with COVID, it's been hard trying to readjust to the market for a lot of people, and that's totally understandable. But what we do is we have different assessments. We help with kind of light career planning to help you figure out a path. Joining me next week on our podcast will be Kelly. She's our career planner. We're going to talk a little bit more because while I'll give you an assessment so we can figure out what fields you do and don't like, Kelly's going to be the one that's actually going to help you make a plan to get there.
She's practically a superhero. We have a lot of respect for her because she does all the stuff that we can't handle right up front as we're trying to help as many people and get you guys where you need to go. But let's dive right in. Our first Facebook Live
Absolutely.
is going to be about social media and a job seeker because we are here on social media.
We're live on Facebook Live. How about that? So, Mandy, how long have you been using social media, first off?
Oh, you could say, I guess I was using it back in the dinosaur days of the late 90s, but it was just AOL Instant Messenger. There was no, I know, it's not really social
I don't even know if
media.
that counts.
It's glorified text. But I actually joined probably 2007 with Facebook is really when I started using social media.
See, I guess I was a little later, but I was a little younger. I probably joined in 2010. I was trying to figure it out today because I know I had it in high school, so it's been at least 10 years that I've had it.
Yeah, I was a little after that, since you brought up age, and I'm a little bit older than you. I was, before that in a I used to travel a lot, so connecting with people for social media was something that was important to me, and it was just an easy way to engage everybody all at once. And that connectivity, actually, now that COVID has changed the way we live our day-to-day lives, that is something that is going to be important even more so in the future, is that connectivity. COVID has changed that, I think, for everybody.
Yeah, and that's I think that's really good to get us started off. I know a lot of people. Now, granted, if you're watching us on Facebook Live, you have social media, of course. But I have a lot of people that they'll come to me and they'll say, I have Facebook, I have even a LinkedIn, but I don't use it to get a job. And they're like, can I do it? Do I have to use social media? Like, is it a necessity? And what I generally tell people is, it's a tool. If you want to use it, you need to take full advantage of it. If you don't want to use it, then, yeah, you're losing out on a tool, but is it impossible? No. What's your current experience with that?
I think calling it a tool is probably the best approach. And like any job you're undertaking, you have to have the right tool for the job. If you are replacing an aluminum roof, you're definitely going to need a grinder and you're going to need new adhesive. The social media tool in the job hunt, especially in today's world, post-COVID, in the middle of COVID, circa COVID, is a super important tool. And while I still think there are certain industries where word of mouth and showing up in person are going to still get you the job, I think social media is a very prevalent presence in our job-seeking industry. It's not necessarily what gets you the job, but it can be with something like LinkedIn. But as far as being a part of you getting and keeping a job, it's absolutely undeniable at this point.
That is, and that's the coolest thing to me about it. This is what I tell people they're missing out on if they don't use it. I can walk up the street and talk to 5 people. I can jump on Facebook in 2 seconds and talk with 5 people. And I can talk to people in Tallahassee. I can talk to them across the country. I can talk to them across the world. I remember when Skype came out, I Skyped with my grandma. I remember when my friend was deployed in Afghanistan. That was the only way I could talk to him was Facebook. And it just blew my mind that he was across the earth. And I'm like, oh, hey, man, how you doing?
And I think that, too, that connectivity. It is just a tool, but it is such an important tool, not just in connecting to our friends and family, but in connecting to companies that we want to work for, brands that we are interested in, old friends that may have new doors for us to walk through that we weren't even prepared to talk about yet. And I think that is that tool aspect and that connectivity aspect kind of married.
Absolutely. Do we have any questions?
I do not see any questions other than, right, Mandy for the job.
You're hired.
Got a catchphrase. First laugh.
So another thing that I really like talking about, and it's something that historically us in workforce development don't hit on, and it's something that I think is important. We always talk about Facebook in the reactive sense too, and our whole conversation today is how to best take advantage of it. But a lot of times when you look up resources or things like that where you're talking about what can I do to make social media work, it's always a negative. It's you need to clean it up. If you don't clean it up, they're going to find something. They will find you. They'll find what you posted back in 2013 about Justin Timberlake. But what I think a lot of times that we fail to mention is that you can use it proactively. And just like I said before about being able to get in touch with people, you can reach out to Elon Musk on Twitter. You can go to the head of whatever company you want to apply for, find their social media, and get in touch with them. It's not like the old days. I remember first learning about social media, and I was so excited to get my first Facebook. And it was like the same rules when I was 7. Don't talk to strangers; they're out to get you. It's like me being at Rainbow Park up in Ormond. Like, don't talk to anybody you don't know. You know, if you see somebody, call the police. You can't call the cyber police, but hey. But I think now, especially on your more professional sites like LinkedIn, you want to reach out to people you don't know, because that's the only way you're going to get a hold of them.
And I like that idea of being proactive. You definitely want to post. You definitely want to reach out to those people that you're interested in. You want to expand your horizons, not just in your industry, but in industries that are adjacent to the one you're in any industry you want to grow and develop in. But that cleanup aspect is still so important, because you want to make sure that these are the only cheeks that are on social media. You don't want a company coming out, looking at you, and Party Girl 57 still has posts up. You definitely want to make sure that's cleared up. And that can be done with a bunch of tools. There are services that will go out and do it for you, paid out of so many different services that will do it. But there is a free one called Scrubber. So if that cleanup approach is something you do need to look at, go ahead. It's SCRUBBR. You can Google it. It is your friend, and it will help you clean up. But that proactive approach is definitely, if you are growing your career, if you are expanding your horizons, if you want to do something more, if you want to do something different, proactively seek out social media contacts. And LinkedIn is probably the best way to do that for your professional approach. You can connect with Bezos and Branson, and literally the sky is no longer the limit. Space is the limit at this point.
Yeah, I love LinkedIn. I much prefer that over Facebook. But there's a lot of people that like to network with Facebook because there's so many people on there. But I like LinkedIn. I think everybody kind of has this understanding that it has to stay professional, so I don't have to crawl through political stuff and cat pictures, this and that. It's like, okay, I can actually find something that will be useful for me. So it's back to that proactive versus reactive. If you want to be proactive, jump on LinkedIn. That's where you're going to find it, because people are reaching out to you that maybe you don't even know, just like we talked about.
I think for me, LinkedIn is where I keep my professional stuff, and I keep all my family and friends on Facebook. I'm a little more into that privacy, and maybe it is a carryover from the don't talk to strangers, don't let anybody know anything about you. I do, divide church and state there. LinkedIn is where I seek all of my professional development. If you are part of Volusia County Public Library, you get free LinkedIn Learning. That's probably my favorite thing about it right now. And see, learning up today. But I do keep my Facebook separate. That is where my family and friends, and it's pictures of my niece and my dog that don't go on LinkedIn.
And I think that's okay if that's what you want to be if that's what you want as your strategy. And it's good to have a strategy if you're going to use it. If that's what you want to be your tool, then fine.
All right. So as we're going through social media and talk about having a proactive approach, you have the reactive opportunity. You always have the opportunity to go back and clean up, keeping things private or mixing them together depending on how you want to network. We just want to make sure that you can post questions in here. I've got a computer up to get some eyes on it for you, and we will answer any questions you might have. So what else, Ricky? What else do you see happening in social media today as far as the job front?
So I think one of the best things that's come about in the past probably 5 years is, before it was very difficult to actually search for jobs on social media.
Yeah.
And that has come leaps and bounds. And I think part of that is because of COVID, where people are trying to get their jobs out in as many places as possible. And it makes sense if you think about it. If everybody's on social media, why would I not try to promote my business or promote the job that I'm trying to hire for?
Meet people
where everybody is. If the traditional marketplace doesn't exist like it used to, then you got to adapt. That's true of any part of your job search. You gotta adapt if it doesn't work.
So in that flood of job posts that are everywhere and on all the different sites, there's a lot of cross-posting. So you'll see the same job on a bunch of different sites. What do we do with the scams or the things that don't seem right? Because I know I look sometimes and I'm like, that's a great job, I should recommend someone for it. And the more I read, the more I'm like, ooh, this isn't even a real thing. How can I know I'm good at discerning that because I'm a very suspicious person, but how, the general public, when you are at that moment where you are between jobs, especially involuntarily, how do you find that way to discern what is just right for you, what is going to push you forward, and what is not there at all, just in
So Facebook, I want you to look into my eyes. I'm going to give you one piece of advice that is super, super important. If you don't remember anything else, remember this. If you're filling out a job application and they ask if you want to go back to school or drive for Uber, they're trying to steal your info.
Definitely not.
I get this all the time down in the Career Center. Well, I applied for a job and now they're trying to get me to go back to school. You didn't apply for the job. If you're applying for a job and they want you to apply for a different job that involves driving a car, it's not real.
I know one that I've seen a lot is they're like, we need a fast food delivery driver and you're going to make $70,000 a year. And I'm thinking to myself, how? There's not enough hours in the day. But you see that and you think, I love to drive. I love fast food. I like delivering things. $70,000 a year. And it's really easy to take that bait.
Yes.
It's really easy to go in and say, like, I'm going to get paid a buku amount of money to do something I love. And that disappointment that's not real. And a lot of times there will be an engagement. There will be an email that says, here's some interview questions and you'll respond to that. And then they ask you what seems like a normal part of the interview process is, can you send me your driver's license and your social security card? Nobody is asking you to do that without video chats and meeting you in person. Very few companies really want you sending that out over the internet for a job. They need copies for their HR records. So they need to see them and make sure that those are legitimate. And if somebody's asking you that for email, say, I'd prefer to come to your office and make sure that you are doing your best to verify that that's a real thing.
Can you send me your social security card on WhatsApp? Oh yeah, let me get right on that. Don't get right on that.
But the Nigerian prince is going to send me $5 million, Ricky.
My favorite's the Spanish lotto. Another one is, and this has been true for years and years and years, if they want you to pay an application fee, you shouldn't have to pay to work in a place. Background checks, fingerprinting, that's one thing. That's common. But if you have to pay to apply somewhere, then you don't want to apply there. That's not the sort of place that you need to be working in.
Normal for apartments.
Yeah.
Not normal for working.
A job.
But Elon Musk tweeted me and asked me for my social security card. Definitely doesn't need your social security card, especially in a tweet.
Thanks, Elon.
Way to go, Elon. What else? What are some other common issues that social media job seekers are going to face?
So, for me, it's how far should I go? Should I feel comfortable reaching out to people repeatedly on social media with it? And I think,
define repeatedly.
So I have found, especially talking to people who are kind of new using social media as a tool, they are afraid that I'm going to cross the line if I reach out to this person. And I try to encourage people and say, no, you're not. There's never been a job, at least in my experience, and I've been doing this for a long time, where you reaching out and you really talking and being engaged has prevented somebody from getting a job. I always say the squeaky wheel gets the grease. Follow up, keeping in touch, all of those let somebody know that you're interested. So if you need to do that on social media, then do it.
I feel like the same rules as far as in-person engagements go. You can't message them 500 times a day. That's definitely crossing a line. once a week to follow up, sure. 500 times a day, you're a stalker at that point. So definitely no boundaries. I have Bailey asking, I Googled Scrubber. Can you maybe give us more information on how to access it? It'll have login information and you'll follow the steps. When they allow you, I'm getting tongue-tied, you'll access your social media through the Scrubber site, and then it will give you a free kind of long drawn out version of all the posts that maybe have questionable words. Sometimes that word is butt, and you might have been cooking a pork butt for a holiday dinner, and you'll know that's not a crazy post. That's fine to leave. They do have a paid version of the service where they'll go clean it up for you, but usually just being able to see the questionable posts will be enough for you to go to your timeline on Facebook, look at your activity log, and work through that.
Yeah, it plays really close to the chest in terms of what it's trying to look for. But it gives you, I like that because it gives you those options. If you want to be the one to say, no, that's a little ridiculous, I'm fine leaving that on my Facebook, then at least you have that choice. But I guess I'd rather it cover too much than not enough.
All right. If you are just joining us in the middle of our first live session on Facebook, again, the first of many to come because I think everybody's going to love it and we're doing an amazing job. Let us know that you are here with #replay so we know that you guys are appreciating what we do, and let us know we're on the right track. Ask us questions in the chat, and feel free to suggest topics that you'd like to hear us talk about more too. Your feedback is important because if we're not doing something that's beneficial to you, there's no point in us doing it. So far, we've covered making sure that your posts are proactive, not just reactive. I know there's always going to be reactive where you have to go back and kind of question something, but make sure that you are actively seeking out contacts on social media. Make sure that you are making posts that are relevant to your industries you're interested in. What else? What else have we talked about? I talked too much.
Well, I know something I do want to talk about because this is, and a lot of people know me in social media. My big issue is privacy. And this is something, if I hear people say they don't like using social media, this is usually the biggest reason why. They're uncomfortable with putting my whole life out there. And I have some thoughts on that because I used to kind of feel that way too, especially in terms of using it as a job search tool. But what I like to tell people, and Mandy, I want your thoughts on this. You're handing out a resume with your name, your phone number, your email address, where you live, and your past years of job experience. So if I drive to an office and hand that to somebody, what's the difference between that and applying for a job on Facebook or talking to a recruiter on Facebook?
There's really no difference. You've met. You know everything that you need to know to really know this person. You don't know their personality, and again, that comes with interviews. But as far as what you're putting on social media, have a good biography. Make sure that you are getting that elevator speech out there. So if there is anything questionable, that privacy isn't such a big deal. But I don't think there's any difference between what we're putting on social media and what we are putting on a resume as far as the job search.
Yeah, and that's my big thought on it is, I'm very big on privacy, especially with social media. But if I'm going to use it as a job search tool, I think people kind of need to remember that you're giving out your private info no matter what. If you're applying for any job, they're having access to you. So I don't think the digital world should be an obstacle necessarily, because again, you're getting access to more people. You want to be, of course, just as discerning with who you're talking to.
Yeah. Well, I feel like every ad that comes along for a contest to win a new ceramic coated Dutch oven and a new pair of shoes and a 2-day vacation and a free camper and win a house. People are putting in their name, their phone number, their email, their address anyway. So that should not be a stumbling block at this point in time for job searching on social media. If we're doing it for contests, we can easily do it for something that is actually going to benefit us.
Yeah, it reminds me, there's an episode of King of the Hill where Dale Gribble's like, don't you realize every computer, printer, fax machine, scanner, and supermarket checkout machine has taken your information in a collective entity we know as the Beast. And it's like, yeah, that welcome to 2022.
Yeah.
You know, that's just a reality. Another thing that we do, if you're wondering a lot more specific strategies, Mandy and I do a workshop, about an hour, 45 minutes. We're going to be posting dates for them very shortly. We do them on the computer so that anybody that wants to attend can. And it's all about social media, but more in depth about how to specifically target your social media to be a job search tool. In terms of what should be on there, what shouldn't be on there, how should I set it? What else did we talk about in there?
I don't know. I have a pretty cool lion meme in there, so keep an eye out for that when you join us.
Mandy's all in on the lion meme.
It's my favorite. If you are interested in taking that workshop, email workshops@careersourcefv.com, and we will get you signed up for that.
Yes, and that workshop, just like everything else we do here at Career Source, is free.
Hashtag free.
Yes, thank you, taxpayers. We appreciate it.
So we're going to wrap up for today. If there are any more questions, is there a bagel meme in there? There probably is. A puppy.
I wonder who took my workshop and remembers me talking about our dog.
Thank you guys so much for joining us. Next week, Ricky will be back with Kelly, and they will be talking about more in-depth in the job-seeking market. And we hope to see you then. If you're catching this now, hashtag replay, and hashtag Lab Team has had a great time chatting with you.
Absolutely, and thank you for coming out this morning and said hashtag replay. I like that.
Hashtag replay. Thanks, guys.